Marketing seminar. Our presenter today is our Club Growth Director, Ken Spear. When I first met Ken, I didn't realize he was very smart, and I was a little bit afraid to actually talk to him. But as I know him, he's very friendly. He has a world of wisdom that he's going to share with us tonight about how to market our club and grow our club. And he's a distinguished Toastmaster, a wine connoisseur, a lot of special things. He's going to tell you about it. And as you get to know him, you love him like I love him. Let's give a hand to Ken Spear.
Thank you so much. What a great introduction. I love that. Can everybody see the screen? Yes, thumbs up?
Yes.
Yes, Ken. I can
Excellent.
see it.
Excellent. The first question I want to ask is, how many people caught what I did to market this event? The very subtle thing that happened. Did anybody catch it?
Gorilla spelling?
No, you didn't do it. I'll explain what I did. You see, the word gorilla has two different spellings and two different meanings. I use the word gorilla, Gorrilla. There's like the animal, so that we're going to do some guerrilla marketing. Yet real guerrilla marketing is spelled the way you see it on this slide. And what guerrilla means is basically an attempt or an attack in a stealth mode or an unknown mode. And let me give you a couple of examples of guerrilla activity that is really well known. First of all, during the American Revolution, the Minutemen and the army of the young country that was being formed, the United States, they acted in a manner of what was known at that time as the first being the first guerrilla soldiers, excuse me. And as a result, with their actions of like sneaking in and blowing up fuel dumps and ammo supplies and things like that, they really set a pattern for warfare on a level not seen until then. Because before the American Revolution, you'd have one group of soldiers facing off on a line against another group of soldiers, and they would just shoot at each other. And very inefficient. And this type of warfare was really very efficient. A second really big example is when the country of Israel was being formed in 1947, the young Israelis definitely decided that guerrilla warfare was a way to go to kick the British out of Palestine. And if you read about the history of that situation, they really truly perfected it. And one country took it to the extreme limit, and that was the Vietnamese. The Vietnamese really perfected guerrilla warfare in the jungles during the Vietnam War. So these are things that talk about guerrilla warfare, doing things on a stealth method, a stealth way to not really be seen visually, yet have a great impact. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight, is all about guerrilla marketing and thinking outside of the box. Before we go any further, I do want to say this about your clubs. As you're thinking about this and learning about guerrilla marketing, we're going to talk about some of the techniques. I still want each and every one of you to have guest speakers. I want each and every one of you to have open houses. I want each and every one of you to invite people every day and have every member of your club invite people every day to your meetings. That is indeed the most effective way to get people to come to the meeting, is inviting people, and inviting them again. It's a numbers game. It definitely is a numbers game. The more people you invite, the more people are going to come to your meeting, the greater chance you're going to have to increase your club's membership. But let's think about ways to attract attention to your club. Now, we're not talking about selling gorillas. No, not at all. We're talking about making waves in our community and ways to make people pay attention to our message. And it says right here, guerrilla marketing is a form of unconventional advertising that focuses on word of mouth, as well as all the other things listed there: interaction, creativity, different things to really attract your attention. guerrilla marketing is a way to take things to the next level without spending a lot of money. And you dip your toes into the guerrilla market world, you're going to find that there's really no thing you cannot do that won't be effective in some way. And you want to stand out from your competitors. You want to stand out from the crowd, and you want to create a buzz on social media. When you do a guerrilla marketing campaign, you must be integrated with your social media. You must have a way for people to go to your social media, look at your website, look at your meetup, look at your Facebook page, Instagram, whatever it is you're using for your club or your Toastmasters Read Host site. It really doesn't matter. You really want to make people look and pay attention and draw them in, because you want to just shock them. Now, when I was young, there was a lot of advertising on TV, and you see these same repetitive ads over and over, and you become numb to it. And the idea of guerrilla marketing is to take away that numbness and really make you focus on a message or a product or an idea. So how did this start? Now, J. Conrad Levinson was active in the 1980s. He also wrote a book I have behind me. It's called Guerrilla Financing. And guerrilla marketing, he writes about easy and inexpensive strategies for making big profits. Well, in this case, we're not talking about profits. We're talking about increasing membership in your club. That's the goal. It's not about profits in a business, but it's about increasing membership in your club. And in the 1980s, everything was pretty static, pretty traditional. You'd see a woman standing next to a washing machine holding a box of Tide detergent. You knew it was Tide detergent, but it was nothing special or unique. And did it make you want to go buy Tide detergent? Not necessarily. It just was more of a branding idea for them in the 1980s. That's what it was. But guerrilla marketing goes beyond branding. It's to shock you into thinking about how to go about making change and bringing people into your club. And we're going to talk for a few minutes about, once you get people into the club, what to do. We're going to get that a little later in the meeting. And if you have questions, throw them into the chat and Daniel will speak up, or you can even just shout it out if you need to. But the idea is that we want to make sure it's interactive, that people get a lot out of this, and you're going to have questions, I guarantee it, as we go through all the rest of this. But let's think about this thing that we're doing. How do you, as a club member, make an impression upon your potential customer, and in this case, potential new member? That's the benefits of this whole thing. The benefits of guerrilla marketing. What are the benefits? You're investing your time, your energy, your money, your imagination. Think of the most outrageous thing you can do. What can you do? I love James Gordon, the Late Late Show. He used to have a skit where they would go into a street corner and do a theater act during the stoplight, and then go off, cars would go by, they go off and do it again. What a great thing. And you could do that with table topics. I don't recommend getting into the street, it's kind of dangerous, but you can set up a little bit of a flash mob and do some table topics at a random spot. And people are going to come and go, what are those people doing? Oh my God, what are they saying? What's going on? And you can say, hey, we're Toastmasters. We're doing table topics. We're learning how to speak in an impromptu manner. We're learning how to be better communicators. Do you want to learn how to be a better communicator? Come join us. What a great thing to do. Think about it. That's something you can do, just so simple. 3 or 4 people sitting in a coffee shop, having coffee at a club meeting or an executive board meeting. You could do that and help increase your marketing that way. It's not really a matter of money to do guerrilla marketing, but it's more an issue of manpower. It does take some people to do the work of guerrilla marketing. A good example is that San Clemente Toastmasters, until recently, we used to have a table at the San Clemente Street Fair. And we had it every month. We'd sit there and hand out old Toastmasters magazines. Maybe we'd have a flyer printed. People would come up and say, what is Toastmasters? What is that? And we'd answer the questions. And we signed up a few members via that route. So my thought about that is if you have a market where you can go set up a table, much like the Girl Scouts set up their cookie tables in front of a grocery store, you could do the same thing. If you get permission, ask permission, set up a table in front of a grocery store, do a little marketing for your club. Costs nothing, yet the impact can be huge. Absolutely. And because you're doing it with unconventional methods, there are no standards or rules to what you need to do, other than if you are going to sign people up to go to a meeting, you really need to have something to hand to them, something they can take that's tangible to take away so they know where to go, they have information. It's one thing to talk about it, but it's another thing to put something in somebody's hand that they can actually feel. And I see this in all earnestness because as somebody who works in the industry that I work in, if they have something to hold that's tangible, I can make the sale much more easily than saying, well, I'll come back and get it later. Well, they never come back to get it later. It's either now or never. And if you have a table in front of a supermarket and you're handing them a flyer or a card or some form of communication other than just talking about it, there's a good chance they're going to come back. And of course, you want to capture their information at that same time. Get their name, their address, their email address, their phone number, and you can start sending them messages and let them know about your meetings. You can't really think of it as traditional advertising, guerrilla marketing. You have to think of it as things that you would not normally do, things that would be very shocking to people to see. Traditional advertising is like a Coca-Cola ad. That's a traditional advertising. McDonald's, those kind of companies, that's all traditional advertising. Guerrilla marketing is almost like, and many of you may have seen it, the Apple ad that happened in the 1984, it was the Super Bowl, that one ad they ran the one time with the woman with the sledgehammer. That was guerrilla marketing to an extreme. They have this video, she throws the hammer, smashes the screen. It's a whole new paradigm for computers. And people still talk about that ad to this day. I'm talking about it now because it made such an impact and it only ran once on television. So it's a great way to show people that there's something out there that they are just not aware of, and they need to break through that paradigm of traditional advertising and traditional media marketing and go the extra mile mentally. Kind of a fun thing to think about. And you can be so creative. You can be so creative. Now, the thing about Toastmasters is we understand people. We understand how people work and talk and the benefits of Toastmasters, and we want to really communicate that, but we want to do it on a more emotional level. So if you have something that's surprising, like an impromptu table topic session in a Starbucks, that's going to maybe make an emotional impact on somebody. Somebody's going to come up to you and say, why aren't you doing this? And you can say, well, we want to let people know what we're all about as Toastmasters. We want to know that we're the people who help you communicate more effectively. That is a great thing to have happen. And when you do that in this guerrilla marketing scenario, people are going to notice. They're going to notice. And on top of that, as you do this, think about your own companies and the things you do for a living outside of Toastmasters. A lot of these same rules will apply. And the things you learn doing these activities can really help boost your sales. Now, if you have something going on and you need some help, you want to maybe have your friends, your family, work colleagues help you. That's always a good thing to have happen, because then they're going to become involved and maybe, just maybe, they'll sign up to be Toastmasters too. Those that aren't already in Toastmasters. It's a great way to involve those who are not in Toastmasters in a little scheme and have some fun. And everybody's up for an adventure. Nobody really wants to sit back and watch reruns of Gilligan's Island, or in this case, Magilla Gorilla. No, we don't want to do that. We want to sit out and make sure that people are really getting the fundamental aspects of a Toastmasters meeting and the benefits of Toastmasters. And that's one way of doing it. You can create a long-term relationship with guerrilla marketing. And I mean that by saying you get people involved, you get them excited, and they become raving fans. There's a book called Raving Fans. If you've never read it, I highly recommend it because it is a book that tells you how to make people become your champions. The champion of your club, the champion of your message, and the champion of your ideals. Raving fans are the backbone of all successful marketing and media campaigns. Another great example of that for you, although who may not quite grasp that, is Taylor Swift. She has raving fans. She's doing 6 sold-out nights at SoFi and starting in a few days. These people will pay anything to see her. They'll do anything to get to that show. They are raving fans and they talk about her non-stop. They have their fan club. They do all the things they do. Toastmasters should have a fan club like Taylor Swift. I wish there was a way we can do that. I hope there is a way we can do that. We'll have to work on it, but it would be great because if we could have what I would call oracles of the message of Toastmasters, we would definitely do well to increase our club membership via that way. So what are the types of marketing that you can do? Well, there's ambush marketing. And ambush marketing is really kind of an interesting idea. I talked about ambush warfare, and it's really based upon that. You sneak up on somebody or in some event, and all of a sudden there's flyers everywhere for your club. Or you sneak up and you tap people on the shoulder and you hand them a card, say, hey, come to this meeting. It is going to change your life. Come to this meeting. It's going to change your life. You do that a few times to hand them a card. They're going to look at you crazy, but you're going to hand them a card that says Toastmasters. They're going to maybe hopefully look it up online and see if it's a cult and it's not a cult. They're going to say, okay, this may work. And you may have it. So ambush marketing is a surprise attack, something you would not really expect to have happen, but it's going to happen anyway. The next thing is, of course, outdoor marketing, outdoor guerrilla marketing, banners, posters, balloons, things that are unexpected. And I found this to be true with balloons specifically, is that when you, as a club, put balloons where your meeting location is, it tends to attract people. The other thing that attracts people before a meeting is if you can get 5 or 8 of your members to stand outside of your meeting location and people are driving by and they're going to see people congregating, people are going to stop and ask, why are you doing that? Nothing attracts a crowd like a crowd. And that's an old saying, and it's absolutely true. How many times have we been on the freeway and seen a car wreck and then people are just looking? It's the same sort of thing. A crowd attracts a crowd. In my previous life owning a wine store, I would sometimes have people crowded outside and people would come in and go, I saw this crowd out there, something's going on. Oh, there's a wine tasting tonight. Well, of course. And more people would come in, more sales, life is good. Putting art or objects outdoors to attract attention like balloons. But a great example is Banksy. I don't know if anybody knows who that is. He's a very famous street artist. Nobody really knows who Banksy is himself. He keeps himself stealthily hidden, but his art attracts attention and they do all kinds of things. There was another famous artist called Christo who died recently, and he used to wrap buildings and bridges and all kinds of different materials. That sort of thing really attracts attention. And if your club is willing to do something like that, maybe paint a trash can with an arrow pointing to the meeting, or like I said, with the balloons, use a crowd, all kinds of things, chalk drawing on the sidewalk, if you can get away with it, whatever works. Something to just attract people's attention that they're not going to expect. That's guerrilla marketing. And indoors, it's pretty much like the outdoors. It's engaging people where they congregate. Now, I've talked a little bit in my intro to this thing and in our marketing for this about bathroom marketing. And all of you are thinking, what is bathroom marketing? Well, I'm going to tell you. Bathroom marketing is a great thing for a corporate club specifically. If you're in a corporate club and you have a bathroom and or a lunchroom and you can hang up flyers in those places, people are going to notice it because where do they all have to go? Either to the restroom or to the break room, lunchroom. That's the thing to do. And the restroom is the best place of all because you really have a captive audience with very little interruption to read what's on the sign. What's interesting was there was a study done in Sweden, where they put little dots in men's urinals to make sure that men would look and aim at that urinal, that little spot. And they found that the attention paid to that little dot helped reduce the cleanup of the men's urinal by 40% because men were aiming better. So if you think about it, I mean, it's kind of a weird analogy, but if you think about it, you have somebody's attention, you put it above a urinal, put it on the back of a door of a stall in a bathroom, you have people's undivided attention, and it gives them something to look at when they otherwise wouldn't be doing anything else but just what they're doing. So that's part of it. So where people congregate, lunchroom, put it on the door of the refrigerator, put it inside the refrigerator, on the water bottle, if they have a water bottle dispenser, whatever it is it takes to get people to come to the meeting. So that is one of the things that really works to get people's attention. You've got to think outside of the box. Where do people congregate? Where do people go that they would not expect to see a flyer or a notice about a Toastmasters meeting? Think about that. Customers are active. They want to take part in an experience. If you can provide the experience for them, they're going to come. Almost like that old saying, if you build it, he will come, from the movie. It's a great way to go. So event ambush marketing, use your environment to surprise and shock people into noticing you. Flash mobs. Now, flash mobs are an incredible thing. And again, a flash mob would be like your group that's in the Starbucks doing table topics. That would be kind of a flash mob. I don't expect everybody's club to go out and start singing and dancing on tabletops. That's a bit much. However, you can do all kinds of other things within the Toastmasters world and use it as a flash mob. You can even give evaluations outside of your club. If somebody's talking and you can say, hey, I want to give you an evaluation on your speech, you can do that. And as the cartoon says, how many did you catch? Well, in this case, how many people did you engage? How many people did you really make an impression upon? And of course, we talked a little bit about tactically placed signage. That signage is critical to do it wherever you can. Make those signs visible, make them clear, make them concise. Have a website address, have a contact address, maybe even a phone number, so people can really engage and work on becoming a part of your club. That's the whole point of guerrilla marketing, going out and thinking outside of that box. But let's talk for a moment about some other things you can do, and sponsorships and alliances. Sponsorships are so powerful, so powerful. Now in Toastmasters, we already have a couple of mechanisms for sponsorships. We have Speechcraft, we have youth leadership, we have different things we can do in those areas, and we help kids learn, we help bring them into the world of Toastmasters at a young age, because we always want to develop young talent as they're coming up and get them into the Toastmasters mode early in life so they become Toastmasters for life. That's what Speechcraft and youth leadership help do. And Speechcraft is a great thing to sponsor. If you can sponsor a Speechcraft, it doesn't have to be in a college, it doesn't have to be in a school. I want you to all think about this. What about a retirement home? What about a local community organization such as a gardening club or historical society? Get those people involved in speaking about how they can really go out and make a difference by using their words, using their knowledge, imparting their knowledge, sharing their knowledge. It's really a great thing to have happen. Sponsorships are very, very critical to really building a club. If your club can sponsor an event and get your name out that way, that's a really marvelous thing to do. And you can always align yourself with other groups. Now, I know that Toastmasters had a alliance with the Rotary Club, and I don't really know how that's been going. Hang on one second here. I don't have the answer on how well that's worked, but the idea is that an alliance and a sponsorship are really going to bring more attention to your club, especially in a local level. And if you're in a corporate club, it's really important that if you have clients, you can be aligned with your client in that way. So if you do an alliance with your client, maybe your client can form a new club and or their members can become members of your club. Either way, it's a win-win for both the client and for your club. Do not discount the idea of being a sponsor or forming an alliance with somebody else and bringing them in. And when you do that, you can also do events, obviously, together. If there's a gardening club and you're sponsoring it, you should definitely have some of your Toastmasters there to speak. And at your club, you should have some of the gardening people come and speak. It's a two-way street. And when people see how well Toastmasters speak, they want to join. A great example of that is in my wife's company. They're an architect. I think it's called Bob Burns was the architect company, came into their company, and half of those people were in a Toastmasters club. The owner of my wife's company, Bill Hesmelhoff, said to me specifically, "Wow, that's really impressive. I really want to think about doing this in my company," which we tried to do, but then COVID hit and that didn't happen. However, the idea is that when people see the polished presentations of most Toastmasters, they are so, so impressed. Most people, when they give a presentation, and I've seen this in BNI and the TIP and those other networking groups, every other word is, well, I am Sal, no, you don't want that. You lose the message. That's why having those sponsorships are so important, because you can help those people get their message across most effectively. Unless sponsorships and alliances, definitely the way to go. And you can always start astroturfing, which is a very bad word. I don't like it, but it means using a fake endorsement. And it's kind of controversial, but it can help you get noticed. However, you have to admit eventually, if you do that to people that, we're not really aligned with Mothers Against Drunk Driving or whatever it is that you're doing, you really have to be careful with that. It's not 100% kosher, but it will get you noticed if that's your end goal. And I thought I throw that in there because people need to know that that is something that happens all the time. People have these different weird alliances and things that happen that they don't really go and mean anything because they're not real. Well, I'm a member of X, Y, and Z, but I maybe not really be a member. And a good one of that, and that sadly is that New York Representative George Santos, who said he was a member of this, that, and the other thing, and he was none of it. That is kind of astroturfing, but it got him noticed. It got him noticed so much that he got elected to Congress. So it's a very powerful tool if used, but it can be used well and it can be used badly. So you have to be very careful when you do that. I love the fact that this cartoon says Noah's Ark. It says the voyage was sponsored by a pet food company. I just thought that was so funny because there's a good idea of a sponsorship that you wouldn't really think of, something really unusual and different. So that's thinking outside of the box. It's sort of that guerrilla marketing idea of taking things to the extreme, really thinking outside of the box. I don't really think about Noah's Ark as being a pet food sponsored trip, but hey, these people did. So what do you know? What do you know? It all comes down to this: buzz marketing. buzz marketing is the antithesis of astroturfing. It really means you've created a means to help people understand and get a feel for what's going on in your organization. In this case, Toastmasters, your club. Creating a buzz on social media is important. Creating a buzz outside of social media is equally as important. And the two need to combine together. And that's where that book, Raving Fans, comes into play. When you have buzz marketing, you're creating raving fans. And raving fans are your apostles that go out and spread the word. They spread the word about the good work you're doing. It spreads the word about your club and how your club is successful and how the members are transforming and changing. Now, increasing your brand awareness and brand exposure, in this case, the club awareness and exposure, is not easy. But it goes back to those ideas of doing crazy things, building a tower in the middle of a parking lot, or decorating a Christmas tree with all kinds of Toastmasters paraphernalia in a crowded location with contact information on it. It can all be done. And viral word of mouth campaigns are really a result of all these activities. Buzz marketing, or viral marketing in this case, is one of the key ideas of growing a club. When you grow a club, of course, we know the benefits are there. Increased membership helps you get to your distinguished club plan points and makes you president's distinguished. But most importantly, and more importantly than that, when you increase your club membership, it increases the energy of the club itself, and the members are more energized. And the more energized your members are, the more they're going to go out and spread the word about what's going on. So you want to create this energy for the club. Build upon it, build upon it, and build upon it again. And keep going, going, going. And don't wait until the end of the year. Start now. Start right now. The sooner you start building your membership and your buzz marketing and the things that you're doing and getting the word out and all the creative things you're doing, definitely it's going to help you in the long run. You won't be playing catch up in May and June of next year when the Toastmaster year ends. I wanted to take a moment and have a couple of other folks say a few things. First of all, I'm excited because we have people from the Club Growth team here helping us with this meeting. And I wanted to start with Sherry Horowitz, who has a few things that she's done in some of her clubs to help increase membership and things that she's seen. And Sherry, I want you to take the stage for just a moment and give us a few thoughts.
Well, thank you, Ken. And I must tell you, the idea of a bathroom and the idea of building a Christmas tree decorated with Toastmaster paraphernalia, I'm taking both of those from you. And I think it would be, have a fun meeting to decorate that tree and then figure out where you could put it, maybe in a mall somewhere, someplace in public. You asked me at the beginning of this meeting, what do we do in clubs that I belong to? And this may not be very guerrilla-ish, but Meetup is something, a social media networking tool. What I like about it is it works from the United States to the UAE. It works all across Europe and Asia and the Middle East. And that has helped in terms of international sommeliers attracting people. It's helped on Wine on Wednesday. It's helped at a couple of other clubs. And it's when people are looking for an opportunity to join a community that will either benefit them, help them, or are like-minded. And it's in every language that you can imagine. And as I say, it's the USA to UAE, so it is global. That is one thing that I know works. The other thing that has worked is just talking to people, and you alluded to that. That would be the second thing. You know, it could be you walk into a store, there's an administrator, and you compliment them on the way they speak, and they'll inevitably say, "Oh, I wish I was a better speaker." That's your opening. And I have pulled two people in the last 2 weeks to come to meetings. One is a healthcare worker, the other was a spa administrator, and she turned out to be a stand-up comedian. And when I told her about table topics, she was effusive. So we will see her at meetings. Just absolutely set a goal for yourself, even if it's just once a week, to talk to somebody, compliment them, and find out what they do for speaking. And if they don't want to join, ask them if they know anybody who does. It works.
I agree with you. Really asking people to join is the number one proven method of getting people to join a club. And you ask repeatedly, repeatedly. I've told this story before about when I lived in Newport Beach. My next door neighbor was a photographer for Surfer magazine. He was an ugly guy, not a well clean guy or anything, but he was a great photographer. However, he during our college years had a new girl every day because he asked maybe 30 girls a day to go out on a date, and he would get one almost every day. It was a numbers game. And he told me specifically, he said, his name was Randy. He said, man, it's a numbers game. It's a numbers game. You just have to ask, ask, ask. I've never forgotten that. It was really quite amazing. Daniel, what about you? What are your things happening in your club?
Thank you for sharing very many good ideas. When you talk about guerrilla marketing and ambush marketing, I think about two cases. Recently, we have an open house. Well, we have two open house. The first one, we decided to host it inside the company in a meeting room somewhere on the third floor. Nobody show up. Only the existing member and then one former member who decided to join our club again, which is good. But the second open house, we decided to just go to the cafeteria outside of our company. And the cafeteria was shared by a whole bunch of other companies. We put our flag there. I think Ken mentioned putting some kind of signpost, that type of thing there. And there were like 3 people walk by just asking me, what is this? As I was setting it up. So that's kind of taking it to where people are, guerrilla marketing. When they see the signpost, they get curious, they will ask. And then as we have the meeting, they can all hear us what we're doing, and we're having fun, and we were laughing, right? So people will be curious. Another thing I thought about, I think someone in the chat group mentioned about in the old China day, the medicine man is going to ask someone to do some kung fu to draw the crowd in. Now, I cannot do kung fu, okay? Don't worry. Sorry, I can't do it. But what I can do is on the day when I give a speech, usually I would dress up. Typically, engineering wear just like t-shirt or polo and jeans. That's my typical wear, everyday clothes. But on the day I give a speech, I will dress up as if I'm going to interview. I will have shirt, ties, and my best suit. And then people say, "Hey, Daniel, are you going on a job interview?" Then that kind of, they asked me, right? They gave me permission. I said, "Okay, yeah." Well, no, I go to somewhere even more important. I go to Toastmaster, and Toastmaster help me be a better speaker, better leader. So that will help me get the better job, right? So that's a way of like ambush marketing. I think I don't know that fit into that more, but I think that those are some idea that is easy to do, cost almost no money.
That's fantastic. I know that when you dress for success, things happen. That's absolutely true. Now, I want you to look at this cartoon that I have here. We're sending our master brand besides the Thin Mints. Would you like to buy some term insurance? And that means that we really want people to buy into our product and be part of our ecosystem. And the ecosystem in this case is Toastmasters in your club. And we want to encourage people to participate in the growth and success of the club. That means they're invested in the health of the club itself, and they're going to do everything they can to help promote it. They're going to do everything that you can think of outside of the box to really get people to come in. And we need to take this message back to our clubs and make sure that they all understand that it's their club, it's their mission, it's their brand, because every club has its own different personality and different vibe, as it were. And we want to extend that out into the world. And when people are doing that, the success and the growth of a club is going to happen. It just is going to happen. We talked about some of these things, of outrageous things you can do. I want you to notice this huge cup of coffee sitting in a parking lot. That's total grassroots viral marketing, guerrilla marketing. What does that tell you? That tells you that if you go to McDonald's, you're going to get a big steaming hot cup of coffee. We don't know about its taste. We don't know what the quality is like, but we know it's there. And we want to usually target a base of people. By finding where people are and targeting that base, we can help increase traffic to our club. We need to spread the message that our group will want to have a much larger audience. And you as a speaker, of course, want a larger audience. The larger the audience, the more terrifying it is and the more Toastmastery it is. That's the whole point of learning how to be a Toastmaster, is to get in front of a large group and speak. I recently spoke in front of 280 people, and I was terrified. Not really, because I had Toastmasters experience. It really helps you communicate better, being a Toastmaster. And we need to make that message come through to people. And the idea of communication is so important because everybody has an idea, a thought, a wish, a dream, a message, something they want to get out into the world, and we want to help them get it out there. That's it. So word of mouth creates raving fans. And most importantly, when those fans are out there, they're creating buzz marketing, and that buzz marketing can translate onto your internet website, your LinkedIn, Facebook, et cetera, et cetera. It all ties together, and pretty soon you have a grand campaign, and you've not done a lot financially. That's the beauty of this whole program. It doesn't take a lot of money. It just takes some manpower and time. That's true. So stealth marketing, that's the sneaky thing to do. It's a campaign that attracts customers through subtle and creative marketing strategies. Now, you don't even realize you're being marketed to sometimes when you have a stealth market. When you put up flyers, and there's a number of polls, and you have a flyer after a flyer after flyer after flyer, people don't really realize that you're really marketing, and it's creating an impression. It's not something that's really going to come out and slap them in the face, but it's going to make an indelible impression upon them mentally. I walked by this flyer, and then something about Toastmasters. Maybe I should go to Toastmasters.org and look it up. What does that mean? And then it could create something. You never know what it is. Now, I will have to tell you that if you do things like we're talking about in this guerrilla marketing, Toastmasters really wants you to brand things in the Toastmasters fashion. And if you go to the Toastmasters website, or you can Google either or, and you can get all the details on how to brand things properly via Toastmasters. It's very important because people at Toastmasters get very angry if you do things that aren't branded properly. So do be dubious and cognizant of the fact that it needs to be branded properly if you do flyers, things of that nature. But you don't want to do it in a way that's really weird. Now, there's something that Toastmasters, I don't know if they have it or not, somebody may tell me. I don't know if they have like little stickers with the Toastmasters logo. I was thinking about this the other day. How could I take Toastmasters with something that says Toastmasters.org on it, so people would look at it, little stickers, and make a deal with a local coffee shop and put a little sticker on all the cups that they hand out? That would be stealth marketing. You really wouldn't notice it, but it'd be on all these cups. And as people drink their morning coffee, they're going to look at this thing and say, oh, what's that? That's something new. And that's part of that partnership sponsorship idea. It's a sort of a stealth marketing idea. And most importantly, it's going to start creating an indelible impression about Toastmasters itself, that they're out there, that it exists, because we need to make sure that people are aware that it exists. And that's the biggest issue that every club has right now. People don't know that Toastmasters exists. They don't think about it. It's not advertised widely. There's no television advertising, really not much in the way of radio advertising. There's some LinkedIn advertising, certainly, but not everybody goes into LinkedIn, or you don't see it. Facebook, whatever it is. It's so fragmented. And that's where the stealth marketing and guerrilla marketing come into play, because it plays upon some of that and yet reinforces that message and creates a broader spectrum in your local area. For each club locally, this is where you need to do these things. We're not expecting a club to go out and market themselves for San Clemente Toastmasters in Westminster and vice versa. Somebody in Westminster to go to San Clemente and market their club. That doesn't work. You need to do it locally in your local area around your club itself. I know that there are a lot of publications out there, like such as the Neighborhood Patch, neighborhood.com, Neighborhood Watch, those sort of local little publications. That's one way to get the message out there, to let people know that you exist as a group, and you can list your open house, your special speakers, things that you're doing on those websites, and it goes to the local community, and it should be free for most of it. But let's talk a little bit more about stealth marketing and product placement. When you take the idea of Toastmasters and you do your product placement of a flyer or a sticker or whatever it is you're doing, and you put it in some place really unexpected, it's going to get noticed. It's definitely going to get noticed. And it goes back to that bathroom idea, the lunchroom, break room idea. Make sure it's done tastefully, and yet not so much so that you're slapping them in the face with the idea of Toastmasters. And you know that if you make a flyer and you put it in a dry cleaner, people come to get their clothing every day from a dry cleaner. A great sponsorship and a great way to do it. It really works. Things like that work. I used to do that for my company that I owned previously. It worked really, really well. Street marketing are campaigns that use relatively non-traditional methods, of course. And street marketing is, again, where people don't expect to see it, where you don't expect to find it. Stealth marketing, street marketing, all these things are there. Stealth marketing is when you're in a bar and there's a cocktail napkin and it has a logo of an alcohol company or a beer company or something on it, or a coaster. That's stealth marketing for sure. And street marketing is the same thing, only on a larger scale. You can go out in your club, do some chalk art on a sidewalk. That's street marketing. You can put stickers on a manhole cover on a street. Somebody may notice that. You never know. There's all kinds of things you can do on a street. And I like the idea, again, of James Gordon, when they would go out and do things in a sort of flash mob way, when they go in an intersection at the stoplight, do a bit of a play, then go back. And you can do that with table topics, but not, please do not go into the street and do that. Do it on the sidewalk only. I don't want people to get hurt, and I don't want people to get hit by a car. That would be horrible. But think outside of the box. Think about how you can get people on the street to notice you. Signboards, sandwich boards. When's the last time you saw someone walk around with a sandwich board? 2 pieces of cardboard with some Toastmasters information plastered on it, hung over the back and the front of a person on, off their shoulders, like an old sandwich board. You can walk in a highly trafficked area for a couple of hours. I'm sure you're going to get noticed. People are going to say, what is that guy doing? He's crazy. And yet the message is there, and you're going to get noticed. And they're most likely 1 or 2 people are going to respond, and you're going to grow your membership. Now, I talked about putting flyers in a laundromat, and I want to talk about the Tri-Flyer plus integrated marketing. Integrated marketing, of course, as we said before, is taking all of your information and using it on your social media as well as your guerrilla marketing plan. And the Tri-Flyer is a really effective and extremely cheap way to do it. Neon paper, horizontal piece of paper, 8.5 by 11, divide it into 3, put your message in 3 long strips, cut it. 1 piece of paper becomes 3, 50 becomes 150. It's very, very inexpensive. But on that piece of paper, make sure you have your name of your club, location, meeting time, contact information, phone number, email, whatever it is that you want to do, but you've got to have that on there. It's so funny. I'm working on a project right now, and they didn't have the contact information on it, and they didn't have half of what is going to be served at this event on the flyer that was just produced. I sent it back to them and said, you gotta fix this. How do the people become involved in this without that contact information? It really needs to be there. And you need to make sure it's consistent across your club's social media accounts. And again, make sure that you look at the branding materials from Toastmasters to make sure it's branded correctly. That's really important. This slide deck is not branded correctly. I'm going to tell you right now. And that's, I don't know if that's okay or not, but that's the way it is. But it is there. Now, the power speaker. We talked at the beginning of the meeting about having open houses, keep continuing to do that, absolutely, and have guest speakers. But the power speaker is critical. That's the person who's a local celebrity. That's the company CEO, if you're a corporate club. That's the person people want to come and listen to. And most importantly, if you're in a corporate club and you have a company CEO come in and speak, people are going to come to that meeting because they want to hear the boss talk. And the boss, in turn, is going to see what Toastmasters do in their meeting. As a result, you're probably going to get more members. And hopefully the CEO will give you a glowing endorsement saying, yes, we're building the future leaders of our company here. Please sign up. That's the idea. But the idea with a power speaker is to make sure that it's somebody who's going to attract a crowd. It's so, so important. Absolutely important. So make sure that you have that in your mind when you do your open house. You can definitely have your own club members speak as well, have evaluations, do all the normal things you do, but getting an outside powerful power speaker is certainly a way to attract people to come. And if you put that on your flyer, that there's an astronaut coming to talk to your club, or a famous politician, maybe somebody who won an award recently in the community for their service, you're going to find that it's definitely well worth it. And I love this cartoon too, because we're all motivated people. We're not the ones who are sitting on the sofa. And I think this cartoon just says so much about it all. So there you go. And what are our benefits of this whole thing? Well, of course, we talked about it. Low cost. We gain attention. We can be viral on social media. We'll get unexpected results, and those results should be more people coming to the club. We're thinking outside of the club. We're thinking outside of the box. We're being creative. We're doing all these things. But there's one last thing I do want to talk about in all this. You've worked so hard to put on these guerrilla marketing plans. You've thought outside of the box. You've done all these wonderful things for your club. And they come to the club. You, as a club member, and your club itself needs to be prepared for this. You need to have membership forms. And most importantly, you need to give people a chance to speak at the club itself, via table topics, or at least introducing themselves, why they came. And third, invite them to join. At the end of the meeting, thank you so much for coming. We invite you to join the club. You must ask them to join. A lot of clubs say, oh, please come back next week. No, invite them to join. Invite them to join. People don't do that. You have to do that. It's called closing the sale. It must be done. Without that, you will not gain membership, and all of your hard work will be for nothing.
Ken,
That's
this is
really
Carrie.
important. Yeah?
I would also say that you need to follow up 2 to 3 weeks after that meeting and make it very personal.
Well, yeah, that's part of it too. There should always be follow-up. You absolutely should follow up if they haven't signed up that night. Invite them back to another meeting and keep going and going until they say, no, we're not going to do it. And when you have a definitive no, then move on. But in the meantime, and I'm working on 4 people right now for my home club, we're trying to get them to come back. They didn't say no, they didn't say yes. I gave them membership forms. So hopefully they'll sign up and become members. That's the goal. And we have been doing a lot of follow-up. Follow-up is there. Your best marketing tool are your members and your members' successes. When they go out in the community and they talk about Toastmasters, and they talk about how they got a job promotion because they were in Toastmasters, or how they won an award or a prize because they're in Toastmasters, or how they were able to speak at their daughter's graduation or wedding or whatever it is because of Toastmasters. What a huge endorsement. That personal endorsement carries so much. And like I said before, the more you ask people, and if you ask people and you have that endorsement, that's the double whammy. The double whammy of great gaining members. So word of mouth, the more people you ask, the better chances of gaining members. It really does work. That is your number one thing. But your members are your most important asset in going out and asking and talking about their successes. I cannot emphasize that enough, because when you're a successful club member, you want to pass that on to other people. You want to share the joy of the things that you've accomplished in Toastmasters. So guerrilla marketing is a seriously powerful form of marketing. Low cost, as we said. You could make yourself stand out from the competition. There's a lot of people out there vying for membership, Rotary clubs, Kiwanis clubs, networking groups such as BNI and LATIP, all these other people, everybody and their mommy wants you to join a club of some sort or another. And this is a way to help you stand out from the crowd and make your Toastmasters club the one that people really notice. Throw in your unorthodox methods. Don't be afraid to take a risk, because the worst that's going to happen, nothing. You won't get a new member, but at least you've tried, and that's all that matters. And you'll be well on the way to taking your club to the next level. With that, I'm going to stop sharing and ask if anybody has any questions, thoughts, ideas.
AJ?